Okay. So at this point, I'm finding out that the police department is lying to the town about Todd Minshall's death and the investigation into it. They're bold-faced lying to the whole town. And people will say, well, the reason that police do that is because, if they're investigating something, then they want to keep it, from getting, this and that. And there's a lot of bullshit to that claim, because another aspect of that is the police departments don't like people getting involved in cases, because if people, like citizens, have information that can break a case, it makes the police department look bad. They don't like it when citizens have information that can break open a case, because it makes the police department look bad. And so the police department, to protect their own reputation, hides investigations from the public for reasons like that. And if you try to say that, oh no, that's not true, that's pie in the sky, that's over imaginative, that's just overactive imagination. No, that's real. Like, have you ever watched Think Like a Cop? That guy's a retired FBI fucking agent and a cop. His name's Rick. He has a fucking a well-established channel called Good Luck America and Think Like a Cop. His BitChute channel is called Think Like a Cop. His YouTube channel is called Good Luck America. And he's like the most credible source when it comes to anything that has to do with commentary about shit that's going on with the police today. And he will fucking tell you hands down that is why police departments hide investigations from the public, is because police departments do not like it when citizens have information that will break a case open, because it makes the police department look bad. And so the police department does this shit where they hide investigations from the public for corrupt reasons, not because they're good police that are just trying to do the best job they. So anyways, I find out the police are hiding the investigation, but not from me. The police are telling me that it's under investigation, but to the public, they're hiding it. So I'm like completely gaslit, because who's going to believe me if I'm saying, dude, there's this crazy shit going on. I think this chick is involved in some murder shit. These people are under investigation. Nobody's going to believe me, because the cops are saying there is no investigation. The cops are telling everybody there is nothing going on here, but they're admitting to me, yeah, it's under investigation. So I'm like getting gaslit. So I call one of my buddies. I'm calling people. I'm trying to dude, I need people. I'm out in the middle of the desert, out in the middle of nowhere. I got no one except for this psycho bitch. So I talked to one buddy of mine, and this is what he said. And this totally fucking, I'm like, oh my, I didn't even think of this. So I'm telling him all this story, and he's like, he's one of the few people that believe me, or that would even consider that what I'm saying is true. But he believed me because he knows me personally. He knows I'm not a madman, and he knows I'm not a liar. And so when I'm telling him all this, he's like, shit. And because I was like fresh, I was telling him all the details. Like, when I try to talk about it now, it happened 2 years ago, So anyway, so I'm telling him all this shit, and he starts tripping out. And he's like, bro, he's like, do you have a gun? Do you own a gun? And I said, well, yeah, I got one. I got one for her, to teach her how to shoot a gun so that she could protect herself because of her psycho ex. Her ex is a total psycho too, bro. And so he's like, oh shit. And I'm like, what? And he goes, well, dude, if they did kill that guy, Todd Minshall, and they did it while you were out of town in Texas, or whatever, like if they killed that guy, they could be trying to frame you. They could have used your gun while you were out of town or something, and then they're trying to frame you for this guy's death if it's under investigation and they did kill him. And that's when I went, oh my God, I never even thought of that. So I'm like, oh my God, dude. And then I'm telling him about how the police department put a public statement claiming that nothing happened, even though the police told me that it's under investigation. And he's like, well, dude, he's like, you need to go to the cops. And I said, dude, I'm not going to the fucking cops. The cops in this little town are like the most corrupt cops you'll ever come across. If I'm gonna have to go to the cops, I'm gonna have to go to like Phoenix or Tucson or something. And my friend's like, well, dude, then I don't know if that's what you got to do, but you're gonna have to go to the cops. And he's like, do you still have the gun? I'm like, yeah. He said, dude, you might want to go to the cop and turn the fucking gun in and shit. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, dude, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to the fucking cops. Okay. But anyways, things continue to escalate, and I begin to get more paranoid and fucking unsure and scared, and I'm alone in this town with this witch cult and these fucking psychos and the police. I don't even know to trust who, especially the police. Who knows if they're involved? I don't know what's going on. But it got so bad that finally by the next morning, I was like, fuck this. I'm just going to the cops because I fucking, dude, I don't know. So I went to the police station. So I go to the police station, right? And it's in the morning. It's like 8 o'clock. And apparently they aren't open until, 8:30 or whatever. So I ring the doorbell. There's a doorbell and it says ring the doorbell if the door's locked or nobody's ringing the doorbell. So I ring the doorbell. And so I'm standing at the door, ringing the doorbell. I'm standing at the door waiting. And then I hear behind me, I hear, what did he say? Because I used to know this all verbatim. So I ring the doorbell, and I'm waiting at the door, and then I hear behind me, how you doing, partner? Or something like that. I think it was, how you doing, partner? Yeah, something along those lines. It might have even been exactly that. How you doing, partner? Or what do you... Yeah, I think it was, how you doing, partner? Or whatever. So I turn around, and it's the same fucking cop. The same cop that already told me it's under investigation. And I'm like, dude, look, man. And so then I started talking to him some more. And I'm telling him, like, I am fucking in fear for my life, okay? I got a fucking death threat, like I told you. My fucking ex is involved with these people and this fucking guy's death and all this shit. And I am afraid that if they did kill him, they might be trying to frame me because I have a gun. I bought her a gun, and we have a gun. And I said, so I'm trying to find out what was the date that he died, because I think I was in Texas when I was on a job in Texas when he died. So I'm trying to find out what the date was that he died, and also what caliber of bullet was found in his head. Because if it was the same caliber bullet of the gun that me and her own, I'll go get the gun right now. And the first thing he says is, well, who is the person do you know the person that put a death threat, that threatened your life, like put a death threat out on you? I'm like, yeah. And he said, well, who was it? And I started laughing. I said, I'm not telling you. I said, are you going to put me in fucking protective custody? Because if I'm going to tell you, then I'm not going to tell you unless you put me in protective custody. And if you're not going to put me in protective custody, I'm not telling you shit about who it was. And he didn't say anything. And I said, dude, I'm trying to find out what was the date that he died and what was the caliber of bullet. If it's the same caliber of bullet, I'll go get the gun. I'll go get the gun. And then this is what he says. He says, well, I'm not on that investigation. Somebody else is. Exact same thing that he said 2 days prior. I'm not on that investigation. Somebody else is. And so then I scoff. And I'm like, okay, I understand. But, dude, is there any way to get any information? Like, I looked online. The only information I can find online, there is no date of his death. There is no, only information is the police department's public statement that nothing happened and that it's all rumor. And the cop response was like this. He kind of like looked around a little bit and he thought about it, and then he looked at me and he goes, look, he says, you can put in a request for information with the department, but they're probably not going to tell you anything because it's under investigation. So there it is, a third time. And I'm like, dude, what am I supposed to fucking do? I don't even know what the fuck I'm supposed to do in this situation. And then the cop looks at me and he says, look, man, did you say, you mentioned something about you have a job coming up that you can go work that's in Texas or something? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, are you going to go? And I said, dude, I don't know. Dude, I drive a forklift. I move thousands of pounds of material. I'm fucking like, dude, I'm fucking having a nervous breakdown right now. Like, I'm fucking freaking the fuck out, man. I'm in fear for my life. I'm fucking, I mean, and he goes like this. He goes, look, you need to go to that job in Texas because you and this girl need to stay away from each other. And I was like, fine. I was like, that's what you're ordering me to do, that's what I'll do. And he's like, yeah, you need to go to this job. And I said, okay, I'm gone. He's like, when is it? And I said, it's tomorrow. I have to leave tomorrow. He's like, okay, that's what you need to do. Fine. So last minute, I have to arrange to go to this job. And so I'm like, dude, you got to come pick me. I'm going to go to the job. He's like, you are? And I said, yeah. So, but can you come pick me up over here at this time, and then I'll ride with you, and then to Tucson, and then we can go. So he comes over the next morning, and I'm just like melting down. Like, none of this is de-escalating. It's all only getting worse and worse and worse. And he shows up the next morning. I'm like, okay, dude, look, I'm gonna walk across the street over here to the fucking gas station and get a cup of coffee because I haven't had any coffee. So just meet me over at the gas station over here. I'm going to go get a cup of coffee. He's like, okay, cool. So I start walking. I light up a cigarette, and I'm walking. And I see a white Jeep, and it looks exactly like my buddy's white Jeep. My buddy has a Jeep just like it. And my buddy's solid. He's a good dude. He's not a fucking creep. He's not suspicious. No red flags. Like, totally solid dude. And so I see this Jeep. So I start walking towards it. But it's right there by the entrance to the gas station. So I'm walking towards it thinking it's him, or that it could be him. And so I'm walking towards it. And I'm looking, and it kind of looks like him. There's an older guy, like around his age, around his build, around his everything. And he's sitting in the driver's seat, and he's talking on the phone. And so I'm like looking as I'm walking closer. And then as I get close enough, I realize, maybe like 10 feet away, I realize that's not him. The guy kind of looks like him, but it's not him. And so I just keep walking, but I have to walk right by his Jeep to get into the entrance, and the windows are rolled down on his Jeep, and he's on the phone. And as soon as I walk by his Jeep, he's on the phone, and he says this. He goes, well, I'll kill him. I'll shoot him. I'll shoot him. Right as I walk by the Jeep, he's saying this. Dude, okay, so all this is all coincidence, and I just have an overactive imagination. Absolutely not. And this is the thing about this story that's so important is, even though it's a long story, if I have a chance to actually tell all the details and start lining it up and explaining all this stuff, it becomes more and more clear and clearer and clearer the more I flesh out the story, that this is not an overactive imagination. This is actually makes sense. Like, all these things, all these sequence of events are totally not coincidence. This is like, by the time you hear the whole story, just the idea of all these sequence of events that I describe, all just being completely coincidence, is laughable. Like this, the mathematical, like if you were to do like statistically, that is like nearly impossible. That's like a 1 in a million chance that all these coincidences lining up, that it's all just coincidence. And it's not like, it's because the reason there's all these coincidences is because there's all this shit that's really happening. Once you hear the story, the idea that this is all coincidence is literally laughable. Like, it's a statistic impossibility, practically impossible for all these coincidences to all just line up. And it's all just a big nothing burger. It's all just coincidence. Like, that is laughable. It is like totally, only a madman would believe that. That's what is so insane about this story. The problem is, it takes time to tell the story and to organize it in the sequence of events and to explain everything, because it is a big, long story. It's just like that saying where they say, the lie is halfway around the world before the truth even has a chance to put its socks on. That's because the truth is not just something that can be simplified in like a few sentences, or that can be explained in 5 minutes. There are things that are going on that require a lot of explanation in order to put the pieces together to show that, like, look. Meanwhile, the lie is just like, oh, nothing happened. There's nothing. It's all rumor. There is no, there's a rumor of something happening, and it's all just rumor. There's no need for concern, and people need to stop spreading these rumors. The lie is that simple. Whereas the truth is like this big puzzle that requires all this time to piece all the pieces together, and then nobody has the patience for it. Everybody's like, oh no, I don't want to hear that, you know. And so shit like this is happening all the time. Like, people are getting murdered like this. These kinds of things are happening all the time, and these people are getting away with it more and more, especially in the last, 5 years. Look at the crime. You know, all these criminals are all emboldened. You know, they're just burning cities down. Black Lives Matter coming, burning cities down and getting away with it. And so people are just like more brazenly just committing crimes willy-nilly and getting away with it. And so anyways, okay, so now we'll finish it up. I'm almost done. And this is just the event. And please keep in mind, I'm just going over this as fast as I can. That there's all these other details that are important details, but I have to rush through this story to get anybody to like listen to even have a chance of someone listening to it. And so I'm just like trying to just get through this to where a person can listen to it. And it's already, what, an hour? And this ain't nothing, okay? This is barely scratching the surface. It goes way deep, dude. So anyway, so the cop tells me I need to go to Texas. So I go. And it's just coincidence that guy's like, I'll shoot him. I'll shoot him. All this is all just coincidence, okay? And so I'm like, fucking, all right, just another coincidence. So I leave for fucking the job in Texas. So I go to Tucson, get in the van, get with the crew. We all load up and we start heading for fucking Texas. And it's like a 24 fucking hour drive, nonstop. And I am having a fucking meltdown. I'm like sitting cramped in this little tiny van with fucking 4 or 5 other people in this van to go do this job. And I am like, I am having a fucking literal fucking meltdown, man. I cannot even hold my shit together at all. You know, inside. You know, I'm just keeping it all bottled inside. I can't talk to nobody. I'm just, on the inside, I am melting down, like, completely. So anyways, get to the job, then the job. And the job is an insane job. It's like 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. And this one's a 2-week job. And I drive a forklift. I move thousands of pounds of material. It's dangerous work. And I am in the middle of a fucking meltdown. I am having a complete meltdown, and I'm having to hold it together, keep a game face on, and do this dangerous work without hurting anybody while I have all this insane shit in my head about murders and death threats and witch cults and black magic and Satanism and demon possession. And so we get through this job. I barely make it through this job where it's in Houston. So half of the job is in Houston, the other half is in Dallas. So I barely make it through the week-long job in Houston. Then we pack up and drive from Houston to Dallas. So we're on the road from Houston to Dallas. We're almost exactly halfway point between Houston and Dallas when I get the phone call. The phone call is to report to me that the entire place that me and my psycho ex-girlfriend lived has burnt to the ground. Everything is gone. The RV that we lived in is completely melted down to a metal frame. Everything in the fucking trailer, including any possible evidence there might be in there that could link to Todd Minshaw's death, it's all ashes now. As well as the 4-bedroom house that was next to the RV on one side of the RV, and the 2,000 plus square foot storage building on the other side of the RV. All of it gone. It's all up in flames. Everything burnt to ashes. Another coincidence, right? This is all just coincidence, and I have an overactive imagination. I mean, it's just like insane. Like how much has to happen before it starts to register with just an average person, let alone the fucking cops and investigators that are investigating it? So this is all coincidence. Haven't you ever heard, like, when you watch, if you do any research on investigation, like how cops and investigators investigate crimes, that a coincidence is always regarded as a clue. To investigators, coincidence is a clue. That's what you call a clue. That's called a clue. A coincidence. Like the amount of coincidences from the day one up until the shit getting burnt down was like a mountain. It was like an astronomical amount of circumstantial evidence, all pointing at one primary one primary thing. Like it all points to the same fucking thing. It's either that or it's all just coincidence. All this is just a coincidence and nothing happened. Okay. So my place gets burnt down along with everything in its, like half of this block on that street is gone. Ashes. 21 minutes. So that ain't nothing. It goes on and on and on.